based on when was, when was, you'll see as we add, for example, Enoch, and we add Abraham, and we add other people. We start with when were they born, and when do they come into being? So there's 621 years that passed between Adam and Enoch. If you read the Bible and his genealogy, it says he's born 622. So we're looking at how many years passed before the fulfillment of Enoch. 621 years passed before the flood. How many years passed? 1,656 years passed, because the flood began on the 46th day of that year. The years had already passed. It was that many years passed, and then the flood came. So if you want to look at it this way, 4,140 years passed between Adam and the beginning of the ministry of Jesus, and he's to fulfill that ministry. And we'll talk about also, this is day one. This is our first observation of the walking into the pattern. So any other questions I'd rather answer, we'll get off and get back on. Or did you already stop the?
Well, we're on questions. Yeah, we're on. I stopped and started it again.
Oh, did you? Okay. Well, then that's fine.
And then when we're finished, I see Dennis is here. It's nice to meet you, Dennis. I've gotten your support, never saw your face. So hello and thank you. And we have a few questions, I guess, for Brent, and then we'll get on with, I'll turn it off and on again, and we'll get with you. Okay, Dennis?
Sounds good.
Okay. So somebody have something else to?
Well, I know Daniel 9 specifies AD 27 is when his ministry will start.
Right.
Okay, I was in getting lunch ready, and I came in and you were doing the measurement of all the walls around the sanctuary that equals the 440 years. How did you even think to do that? I just find it just so amazes me.
What happened, I said this the other day, my wife, at that time, my fiance was Christian, and I worked in a big executive job, and I really believed that she was sincere in her. I saw her pray. I knew that she really believed, but I'd never been brought up that way, and I believed evolution, blah blah. I'm in business, and it shocked her more than anyone else when I always used to like to have a book to read in the bath. So I'd get, and I'll sit in a hot bath. You got to drag me. I'll sit in there for hours, I'll keep making, I'll leave the hot running, just to keep it hot, right? And that's the only way I relax, and I read something. So I got offered to do this TV show, and I was going to do it, but it was really, and I was head of a company, $1 billion, we're doing $200 million a year. I was president of the company. And everything sounded like it was going great, and I had met my fiance, but I just wasn't satisfied with my life at all. And I got flown on a private plane to go see if I want to do this TV show. I flew back. I stopped at my office to check, and I realized I didn't have a book to read that night. And I always had a book. And the only thing I could find was someone's Bible lying on one of the desks. I thought, well, might as well see start reading this, And so I never told anybody, and I finished the whole book in about 2 weeks,
Wow.
And then I phoned my wife, and well, first of all, I really listening to the words of Jesus, I really believed it. But I've had a hard time. That's why I talk about things that obscure your view, because of my own, beliefs of evolution and this and that. So I prayed my first prayer, because I read in the Bible, it said, Jesus was teaching his disciples to pray, and he said, go to your secret room, pray and pray in silence. And when God answers you openly, you'll know that, God's answered you. I thought, well, what a great way to test, the truth of if I can, because no one's going to hear me. If there is a God and he answers me, I'll know that he's true. So I said, I'm just a man. I've been reading your word. I believe the words of Jesus, but I'm having real trouble believing creation, the flood, the Exodus, and the miraculous birth and resurrection of Jesus. I said, I know those are the central parts of Christianity. So, but I trust if it's your will, you'll show me. You'll be able to overcome my doubts. So I'm in the bath and I open up the book, and I'm reading the genealogies. I start to notice this pattern because that's kind of the work I do, right? So I'm starting to notice this pattern, and I get kind of excited. I pray to God and say, "Oh, thank you." So I can see this relationship, and this pattern was the relationship between Adam, the flood, the Exodus, and Jesus. I thought, well, those are the things I just prayed about, So then I shut the book and I opened it up again. I was reading the tabernacle pattern. I saw that 1.5 to 2.5. I thought, oh, there it is again.
Wow.
Then I shut the book and opened it, and I didn't even know what chapter was this. Or I'd only just started reading the Bible. Then I opened up to Revelation. I saw the 1260 book, and I said, oh, there it is again. So I just, I got out of the bath. I fell on my knees. I prayed. I phoned my wife and said, I have a new hero, Jesus Christ. And she just about died. She's visiting her sister. And like, what? And then within a few weeks, I quit my job, $1.5 million a year job, and just shocked everybody. Said, I'm coming home. Well, what? No one really wanted me to come home at that time. My parents had a farm that I was supporting and a bunch of other things going on that they'd rather just I stayed there and kept doing that than come home. And I said, no, I quit my job. I'm coming home. What are you gonna do? I don't know. I'm gonna get married, and then figure it out from there. So what happened was, from that point till I just kept asking God more questions. What about this? What about that? What about whatever? And it would be just like, oh, observe this and look, and I just kept seeing more and more and more and more. So
yeah,
one of the
he
reasons
just
why,
opened it up to you.
yeah. So when I've tried to give this testimony in the past, people are anxious. Oh, give me this number, give me that number, and let me send off a fax to my friends or email to show them, and I always said like it just didn't feel right, and I wanted to tell this, in those 7 days, the story of Jesus. That's how I came to observe and know that God was true. He was supernatural. So I wanted to at least go through that, and that's what I'm going to do this week. And then every week, once a week, we'll do another study, because as you get into some of the details, like we could do a study right now on all, it lasts this whole week. If we just did those curtains and the silver and the brass and the hooks and the whites are 50 and all that stuff.
Wow.
So I'm just giving the bigger overview to start something that hopefully every week for the next rest of my life, every Saturday do another Bible study.
Yeah.
It's just a Bible study, but there'll always be numbers involved to show, and here's, our evidence of this today, so it's kind of a unique way for my testimony is, observing the things from today's point of view and looking back, just like the book of Revelation, because I'm convinced and you'll see by the time we finish even this week, that Jesus is returning soon, because the tabernacle pattern shows it.
Yeah.
It shows that it ends in our generation.
Yeah.
So,
our world shows it. Yeah. We just know
it's something where you don't know the day, the hour, or whatever, but what you do know is that this last generation, people that are alive today, will see his return. People that may be born tomorrow, but some people might die before he comes. But there are those that are alive today that will see his return, because it's somewhere in our generation. That's almost well, I'll show you the evidence of it, and it's up to you to whether
Yeah.
it's
that'd be
just
great.
because there's as soon as you get to 4140 and you get to the stuff, there's other dimensions that take you into our time, and I'll give you the secret to that right now. It's on the Ark of the Covenant, but and it's also on the show table, so yeah. But when you look at the height of these vessels, on some of these vessels, they're specifically told to put a crown around it,
Right.
an ornamental crown, right?
Yeah.
And that dimension is when he returns as king. The mercy seat and the flat dimension is the sacrifice. Because there's 2 times of coming, right? It's in the same mercy seat. It's in the same ark. It's in the same showbread table. So that,
Right.
but we've only looked at 1 by 5 by 2, but we haven't looked at the 3rd dimension, and that dimension comes into play later this week.
Wow. Neat. Wow.
But it's not
Can't wait to
because I
do
made it
that.
up. It's because you can observe it. Here, when's the crown coming? Right now, we're looking at when the mercy seat was supposed to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And they tell how tall the crown is, and
Yeah, no, when's
Yeah.
the crown coming? And that's all. I can just tell you that once we build it out, there's no more dimensions to add.
right.
So I couldn't say, okay, well, it's going to go into the next generation because I'm out of material. The temple's built, the capstone's on,
Yeah.
and the capstone is in our generation. There's nothing else you can add to it. And Jesus said, or God said to Moses, once you've observed this pattern, I will be with you. I will dwell again with you.
Yeah.
And once mankind's observed that pattern in fulfillment, then Jesus will dwell, then it'll be the full revelation of his son. So,
It's neat. Yeah.
okay, well, I'm in the middle of a business day, so I gotta
All right.
get her off to work, but I'm glad we had a chance to get through it today, and hope it was, hope people got a chance or enjoyed it, and we'll carry
It
on
was good.
tomorrow.
Can't wait for tomorrow.
All right.
Thanks.
you.
Bye-bye.